Okay, so next we're going to put the strings on. I went with these. I've been using D'Addario for years, and I just kind of stuck with that brand, but I mainly bought these this time because made in the USA, and it was a great price. You get 3 sets for like $10. Some sets will come with two thin strings, so that's always nice too. These are color coded, so we'll chop this off here. So I wanted something thicker, so my thin string's a 10. I didn't want something real thick. 9s would be thin, 11s would be really thick, so 10's kind of in the middle. Okay, so you can see how these are color coded. So best way to do this, each guitar is different, but see how these are thick string, 5th string, 4th, and then your thin string here. So start with your thick string and work your way up. If you started with your thin string and went down, you could do that if you wanted to, but then you have to fight around that string as you put all the other ones on. So it's best to start down here, and then when you put the 5th string on, you don't have to fight around all these strings up here. Okay, E string is brass. Well, they've got these wound together, so what they're doing here is the the thick string and the 5th string are wound together. Okay. Don't drop them in the mud. Okay, so that's brass. So that's my thick string. So that would go here. And then, when you're adjusting these two, if yours moves, you can set these up too before you start setting these and the truss rod and stuff like that. I normally don't use that, but if I loosen these screws up a little bit, then this would come up some. So then it would be more usable. So maybe we'll do that after we get the strings on. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I lucked out here. The string came through the hole. Just get yourself a pillow or something here. So I usually like to get as much string as possible up here, because that helps it stay in tune. Now, if I wind all that on there, that's going to be way too much. So it's just kind of a guessing game. Let's see here. See, I'm going to start here. See, if I put it in here, then I got to go a half a turn before I even get started. Let's see here. Now, don't put it on like this, right? This going down like that. You want this to come around like this and fall down into the slot here. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to go with that. I'm just kind of guessing here. Okay, so use a pair of wire cutters. You know, don't use your scissors. You just ruin your scissors. Leave about a half inch or more. We can always trim it off later. Don't leave this hanging because these will poke you in the finger, might poke you in the eye. Some people think it's cool to leave that hanging until you get jabbed. And then I try to start at the top and wind down. So I'm going to try to get a couple turns above this. And just take your time. There's no hurry. That's probably going to be too much string. It'll be all right. It's nice if you have one of these things. It's a string winder. They're only $1. I think when I bought this one, they were only 50 cents. Pull this tight so you can kind of control where it's winding. And toward the end, I want it to be toward the bottom as much as possible, so I get an angle going up so it holds it down in the hole. So I'm holding it down here, down on here, down. Yeah, I got too much string on there. I'd rather have too much than too little. If I wanted to be picky, I could do it again, but I'm not going to bother. Okay. Don't tighten it up too much to start because the string's getting used to the tension. Don't even try to tune it, because as you put all the other strings on, the tension on the tremolo goes up and down and it changes everything. Okay. Okay, so next string is red. That's the 5th string. Same thing. Now each guitar will be different how you put these on down here. Some of them will you just some you just slide right here in the back. It just depends on how yours is set up. Same process here. This guitar is kind of neat because it's got these things that holds it down, so it keeps the strings in these slots. Okay. So that's probably good. I suppose if you do this 10 times a day, you've got this down to a science. You know, the techs, they know exactly how much string they want to take off. There's no guesswork, you know. So. Now, see here. See here, I'm just going to start by hand because I want to control this, where it goes. Get at least one turn, 1 or 2 turns above the cutoff. That'll help it stay in place. Here, I'm just trying to make it go down evenly, but it's falling where it wants to fall. I'm not really worried about it all that much. But toward the end, I want it down as far as possible. It'll come up as you tighten it, you know. It'll come up on the bar there because it's like caved in there. Okay, and these too, once it starts staying in tune, I'll chop these off down to like maybe 1/4 inch. Not too short because you don't want them slipping through the hole, but even those will poke you. It ain't no fun. So let's see what we did here. For the thick string, I cut off about 7 inches. And I probably could have taken off at least another inch and it would have been fine. For the 5th string, that actually looks pretty good. And I cut off 8 inches. Okay. It's nice these are color coded because when you get down to the B and E string, it's kind of hard to tell. They're both real similar. So I think when I was young, they weren't color coded. So That's nice. So D string, it looks like D string is black. Yeah, black. And then G string is green. Black, green. Everybody and their brother has a preference on strings. I don't really think it matters much, to tell you the truth. It just depends on how well of a player you are. Thickness does matter. You know, if you're playing Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff, you know, you need a thicker string because you're really pounding on them. If you're playing real light songs, then you'd want a thinner string. So on the thinner strings, I want to get as much string as possible wrapped around here because that'll help them stay in tune. Okay, so let's see here. So I'm going to go like this. So, in case you're curious, I'm going to see 6 inches. So I got 6 inches sticking out of here. Go twice around the top. I even saw one of these in a video where it's battery operated. So if you do it a lot, that might come in handy. You know, if you have 5 guitars. I've always thought of putting strings on as like a personal experience between me and the guitar. You know, just take my time and get the strings on. Try not to drop the guitar on the floor. I'm kind of being sloppy on this one. Let's see what happens. You know, that one goes under that little thing. This is the first guitar I've had that has had those. Okay, so that 6 inches worked out good. Got 6 inches there. Now we're down to the G string. Now these, they aren't wound, right? It's just a piece of, it's just a strand. See, these are wound, right? So these break a lot easier, so you have to be careful. Once you get them on and they get used to the tension, they'll be okay. But you need 3 hands to do this. Normally too, I'd put a towel down here, but I just didn't bother this time. Okay, so here I'd say I got about 5-6 inches sticking out of here. Twice around the top. And then I try to start at the top and work my way down, but it does what it's going to do. I always like to get as much string on there as possible, but sometimes it might be too much. So it turned out okay. And in case you're curious, let's see here. I got 5 inches here. And just a little bit left here. So, you know, these, I cut these off shorter and bend them down. But I'm just leaving them stick up for now while we put the strings on. Okay. Last two. We're getting there. B is purple and the thin string is silver. Okay, so we want the purple one. same thing here. Here, I'd say I only got about a finger length sticking out of here now. So I'm going to try and get a lot on this one. I'll tell you, as I wind it, the guitar is really wiggling around down there on the table. I should have put a towel down. And then I'm trying to hold it toward the top, and then as I get a few turns on it, I'll try and bring it down toward the bottom. See here, I'm just kind of pushing it down some. I'm all the way down the bottom now. I've been lucky, as I put them on, they fell in place down here. I didn't have to worry about it much. Here I don't have much at all, so it's 3 inches. One more. E string is silver. The ball is silver. I gotta balance that on my head. Stuck in the tripod over here. I gotta balance this on my head while I pull it through. And then, you know, with the E string, you could put it all on there if you wanted to, but let's go ahead and do that and see what happens. See how I got that bend there? It could break there later on. I don't know how that happened. hopefully it'll get wound up. I won't have to worry about it. I'm getting excited, not paying attention to what I'm doing. I bought this guitar at a small shop a couple years ago. It was like $125. He had the whole rack discounted. He was an old Indian guy, you know, like Cherokee Indian or something like that. I always go in there and try and Jew him down. He always gets mad at me, so I finally bought one. He's got a classical guitar there that I'd like. It's a Cordoba. He wants $600 for it though. And it's been sitting there for years. So I haven't been up there in a couple of years. Maybe I'll go out and check it out before it starts to snow, see if it's still there. So we got all of it on here. We got all of the E string on there. That's really not necessary, but okay, so this guitar, the tremolo's never really worked right, you know. It came with this bar. It's not all that great, but it does the job. You see you can see it came up a little bit. You can see it came up a little bit as I got the strings on. But these screws back here are just too tight. So if I back these screws out just a little bit, hopefully they're long, right? I guess that's the ground. Let's see what happens. So the strings still aren't tight, so we loosen those up quite a bit. We can fool around with that later. Okay, I've got an electronic tuner. You can plug the guitar into this one. Let's see how it works here.